Call the meeting to order. Roll call of Alderman.
Heisler. Here. Kinsella. Here. Holt. Here. Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Here. Randall. Anthony. Here. Davidson. Here. Silsby. Here. Hayden. Here. Sider. Here. White. Here. Galletti. Musgrove. Here. Orland. Here. Schneider.
Here.
Alderman Randall called. He's excused. His father passed away yesterday. And Mr. Galletti sent an email. I guess he's got some work conflict. He won't be here tonight. Or Ken, he notified us he will not be at Economic Development on Wednesday. So I'm not ready to tell you. Okay. So those two are excused, I guess. I don't know. Mr. Randall, certainly that. Roll call department heads.
Police Chief Bill Clay.
Here.
Fire Chief Scott Langston.
Here.
City Attorney Garrett Warner.
Here.
Ken Vaughn. Royce Carlisle. Here. Jamie Matron. Here. Tim Gregowitz.
Here.
Jim Schneider.
Here.
Leander Spearman.
Here.
Emily Foltz.
Here.
Chuck Schaefer. Bob Sabo.
Here.
And Debbie Bell.
Here.
Mike Hartz is here for Chuck Schaefer, and Ken Vaughn is excused tonight. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no public hearings this evening. At this time, I'll open public participation. Please wait till you're called on. Step to the microphone, give your name and address, and try to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes. Anyone this evening? Yes, sir.
Rick Brown, 125 Lucia Lane, Shiloh. You guys are going to be talking about destroying some documents down at the housing office, which I believe I suggested the last time. Maybe you don't. Sabo says that there's 110 boxes. Sounds like a lot of material. Depends on what size those boxes are. If they're standard copy paper boxes, that would be 138 cubic feet, which is approximately 5 foot by 5 foot, 5 foot 4 inches high. There's plenty of room in the basement there. But if they're banker's boxes that are 10 by 12 by 24, it takes up 192 cubic feet, which is 5 by 5 by 7 foot 9 inches. That's not a lot of room. And especially with the police department going to be moving out of here eventually. There's all kind of offices up there. There's someplace you could put this stuff. I highly recommend that you don't get rid of it. Secondly, you know, as I've said before, there are already documents that have been destroyed or misplaced illegally by this city. very valuable documents that the Public Records Commission suggests that you keep preserved forever. And one of the final things is, I've got a letter here from the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's Office of Public Access Counselor has ruled again on 2 more violations of the Freedom of Information Act. You know, you are now listed as a frequent FOIA violator by the Attorney General's office. And, you know, since the election last year, Mr. Mayor, you're 20% of your term is up. But you know, you have acted like, since this election, like you were elected by a mandate, by a huge majority of the population. The fact is that 60% of the registered voters voted against you. And maybe, you know, this last 80% of your term, before you get a job with the county.
I think it's time to go ahead and have your...
Yeah, why don't you sit down and shut up? Why don't you mind your own fucking
I'll
business?
answer.
Hey,
I think you're pushing that. We talked about civility a couple nights ago, remember? You missed that meeting? Who else would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Michael Hagberg, 701 Centerville Avenue. One of the recommendations on disposing of these documents would be to scan them first. Computer drives are pretty cheap nowadays, and they're getting cheaper every day as we go. It's unbelievable how much storage space you can get for a little bit of money. Just scan the documents, and then way you don't have to store them, and they'll be on a, talk about size, a little 6 by 6 by 2 inch hard drive is all that you need to store those documents. And the other is whether or not we can get a video update on the video equipment, and when Lindenwood is going to be able to get the equipment so that we can start broadcasting these. Thank you.
Yes, sir, in the back of the room.
I know it wasn't supposed to, but 200 jobs is 200 jobs, and you think these politicians would be falling all over themselves for a guy that's gonna possibly have 200 jobs available, and believe it or not, he's not even asking the taxpayers for a dime. Well, so much for that. But, I wrote this down so I get that way right. Belleville police have evidently taken over Lindenwood security. A Belleville police car was sitting in the area where Black Church was condemned and torn down so Lindenwood could buy it cheap. And Lindenwood security cameras feed into Belleville police cars, and police car went roaring down alley behind Bob's barber shop and gave a lecture to a hard-working man who was trying to get some aluminum cans to sell and recycle as his lawn mowing and snow shoveling business. He could use the extra income from the aluminum. He gets no taxpayer aid money at all. I think Lindenwood could do a good deed and give him a job at the school. He's a hard-working guy. I'm sure a lot of people know it. He pulls his lawnmower around town and snow behind his bicycle. He's off shoveling snow at 10 degrees below zero. And he's trying to make a few extra bucks by getting aluminum cans out of a dumpster. And the police got to give him a lecture on that. And in my own case, 6 Belleville police officers come forward to my house because Lindenwood didn't like something I said to him. And that took 6 man-hours of police time, 6 cops, 2 visits. And they claimed I made threats to Lindenwood. And I said, I never made a threat to Lindenwood. They said, no, we got it in writing. Well, I'd like to see that in writing. I was wondering if the Freedom of Information Act, I could get that so-called letter. Because I never put nothing in writing, and I don't even say nothing on the phone that could be considered a threat, because I know everything is bugged, and there's cameras everywhere. Your phones are bugged, cameras all over the place. I'm not going to write a letter making any threats. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Alex Enyard, 704 East Street, Belleville. I'm here because I recently moved back full-time and we're resuming the push to get chickens legalized in Belleville with up to 3 hens per household. And while I think a lot of people may think this is a cockamamie idea, there's a lot of major cities that actually have legalized chickens and their property values are certainly not affected. That's been one of the complaints, including St. Louis, Chicago, Carbondale, Illinois, Edwardsville, Illinois, Pekin, Illinois, Naperville, Illinois, Quincy, Illinois, Green Bay, Wisconsin, East Haven, Connecticut, Oklahoma City, Evanston, Downers Grove, Illinois, Keokuk, Iowa, Galesburg, Illinois, Jacksonburg, Illinois, among many others, including Albuquerque and Sheboygan, Wisconsin. So I'd like to ask the Alderman to please consider adding Belleville to this list of cities and to give peeps a chance. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else this evening? Hearing none, I'm going to close public participation. I believe Alderman White would like to read a letter from a constituent in his ward.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I have a lady, Ms. Dowling, and lives in my district, that couldn't be here, but she would like this information read as part of public participation. Her name is Martha Dowling, 2603 Fairway Drive in Belleville, and this is what she wrote. A permit was issued to the city of Belleville and Double D Development by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, Water Resources for development of the 16th edition of the Orchard subdivision in Belleville. Conditions of the permit included the construction of 2 mitigation areas, construction of a swale, and regrading of property. Based upon a review conducted by the Department of Natural Resources, it was found that the conditions of the permit were not met, resulting in a violation of the Rivers, Lakes, and Streams Act. The city has done some work to rectify the situation, but, as I understand, was waiting on results of the Orchard drainage study to continue. As a drainage report initially scheduled to be prepared in November has still not been presented to the city by the contractor Gonzalez Instance, we are requesting the city perform the work necessary to satisfy conditions of the permit. We remain deeply concerned that our property and others will continue to be detrimentally impacted if the work is not completed. After searching the Illinois Department of Natural Resources files and requesting necessary inspections, I was able to establish what was not done and what should have been done. I am not here to assess blame. I'm just here asking that the conditions of the permit be complied with in a timely manner. If anyone wishes to review my research, I would be happy to provide you copies. And she also provides her phone number here, and I've given this copy to the clerk for the record. Thank you.
Can you also give me a copy of it, or send it to me tomorrow? I think just to, in respect, I think you know some of this, but Tim, did you receive it yet, the final?
It says it's going to be here tomorrow.
Be here tomorrow. When we get it, it's going to go to Garrett. We told you, you can come on in and we'll look at it. But before we release it, we want to at least analyze it here in staff. I've not seen it either. So if it's here tomorrow, we will be acting quickly. I think Mrs. Dowling has been told that. We have been out there many times over the years. It's a complicated problem. That's why it's taken so long. And we are going to respond to her and to all of them and have a meeting and see what we can do. But it's, you know, it's. I think you'll find once the report is here, it's not any one simple. There's numerous problems that have existed for a long time, long before I was even in this seat. There's been things going on, so we're trying. And but the report's here tomorrow. I look forward to seeing it. We'll share with the attorney. We'll get you and Alderman Seibert one immediately, and then we'll try to get everybody one and get to look over it. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yeah, by then, we just want to look at to make sure before we totally release it that you know that they covered what we've said before we, you know, make sure. You know, I think right now it's becoming kind of a hotter topic. So I want to make sure before we totally release the letter that Garrett gets a chance to really look at it with Tim and ask some questions and make sure everything that we requested of the study has been addressed before we, you know, hand it out and find out we got more people upset. And, you know, so we want to make sure we clarify that first. Okay? All righty. Okay. At this time, kind of a bittersweet We've had a bittersweet week or so, really. At this time, I'd like to ask Scott Langston, and let's do something a little bit different. Let's ask his family to join him and come on up as we make a presentation to Scott. You don't serve 28 years on the fire department and 6.5 of it as fire chief without bringing a lot of challenges also to your family. Those tones go off in the middle of the night. I'm sure that one thing that Elise is not going to miss is miss the interruptions of sleep and him listening to the radio and leaving in the middle of the night many times. Scott, first of all, I think you need to know that when Chief Martinson retired, we always try to look within the department for the next round of leadership. First of all, because these gentlemen and ladies have lived it, learned it, and have a passion for it. And it wasn't really I wasn't a clear front runner when Dave Martinson decided to retire at 30 years. And I had to go knocking on some doors and kind of start to see who I could nudge. And it took me a couple door knocks to get to Scott Langston because I knew this was the guy, but I actually had to go to his house a couple of times because as a captain at that time, you know, life was a lot simpler. He didn't have to bring the radio home if they had a general alarm, major fire, they all got called, but it didn't happen too often. Sometimes you didn't even get one of those calls in the course of a year. Sometimes it was a couple in a year. Nothing like when you're on the administrative end of it. So Scott, I just want to say that, first of all, I'm glad you accepted my request. And, well, what year was it actually? I can do the math here real quick. I guess it was, so it was basically 08, late 7, 08 when we first started. Late 7 probably when we first started talking. And during that time, a lot of things happened in the fire department. A lot of positive things. Various pieces of new equipment. A new firehouse number 4. We instituted battalion chiefs, which we've never, well, they had them once time years ago for a short time. It didn't last, didn't work out, and we brought them back and they've been going ever since. We hired 4 more firemen, got a SAFER grant. We got rescue boats. We've got a light trailer. We've got, for a while there we were running on chief's cars and assistant chief's cars with about 150,000 miles on them, and we finally got some better equipment over the recent years. We've done a lot in the fire department in the last 6.5 years. The K9 we never had before. Yeah, fire investigator unit. Yeah, and that list goes on. And it's because of Scott and his team that he's had. I see our friend Steve Klingler here, who was the deputy chief under Scott for a lot of those years, and the team that he's had has been loyal to the city. So it brings me sadness but great pleasure to present to you this plaque that says, "Presented to Scott Langston in grateful appreciation for 28 years of dedicated service to the City of Belleville Fire Department and for serving the past 6.5 years as fire chief, 1986 to 2014. We thank you."
I just want to let everybody know it's been my honor to serve as fire chief for 6.5 years and 28 years of the city. And I hope I exceeded everyone's expectations. I appreciate it.
Okay. I think do we have some friends here from St. Elizabeth? Well, I might as well ask you to come down. If you're gonna make me read, you might as well come down, huh? And I guess before we start on this, Scott and his family and the firemen are going to be leaving. They have a presentation by their Local 53 tonight. So this is his last day today. So it's officially Tom Ford takes over at midnight. And so best of luck with your next engagement this evening, but we understand you got to take off. Okay. At this time, how are you, Lottie? Good, good. Lottie Schneider here from St. Elizabeth's, and they're here from St. Elizabeth's, and we did this the last couple of years, and it's very important, and I felt it was necessary again to take just a moment. This proclamation is recognizing February as Heart to Heart Health Awareness Month, whereas every 33 seconds someone in the United States dies from heart disease, and whereas this year more than 920,000 Americans will have a heart attack, and nearly half will occur without prior symptoms or warnings. Whereas genetic or hereditary factors can play a part in many instances of heart disease, other factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, physical inactivity, obesity, tobacco use, and alcohol abuse are major risk factors that can be prevented or controlled. Whereas St. Elizabeth's Hospital Heart to Heart's campaign is building awareness of heart disease, risk factors, and empowering community members to reduce their risk. Whereas keeping our community members healthy and promoting awareness of health issues, including heart health, is an important responsibility and depends on the actions of many organizations and groups in our community. Now therefore, I, Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville, Illinois, do hereby proclaim February 2014 as Heart to Heart Health Awareness Month. I urge all residents, schools, businesses, and civic leaders to take time to educate ourselves about the risk of heart disease and recognize the efforts of local healthcare professionals dedicated to prevention, early detection, and effective treatment, and consider what steps you and your family can take to promote and adopt a heart-healthy lifestyle. I present this to you, and I thank you for bringing this to our attention and for what you're doing to help promote the seriousness of this particular disease that we need to get more people educated. Thank you. Thank you. And lastly, under presentations, I would just be remiss if I didn't remind everyone that the character word for the month of February is trustworthiness, truthfulness in words and actions, being honest and reliable in words and actions. This time we go on to the reading of the minutes. I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes. Alderman Schmidt, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear any additions or corrections? Alderman Kinsella?
There are only two things that actually change the meaning of the sentences. On page 5, immediately above claims, it says all members voted A, but they did not say who made the motion, and I think that's one of the things we're required to include.
You had the down there?
It was moved by Heisler and seconded by Schmidt to approve, and then everyone voted A.
Okay.
And the other one that makes a difference is on page 12. And you can see where it happens sometimes. Above the word resolutions, in the middle, all members voted. I think we would say they voted A.
Doesn't show the outcome?
Yes. Okay. So those are the only ones that
Okay.
make a difference.
Did you have, Alderman Schmidt, do you have something also?
Yes, I do. On page 5, at the very top, it says Alderman Schmidt said she believed they were familiar with you. There should be a paragraph or something there, but it was, all of the rest of the comments in that paragraph were made by Roland Schneider, not myself, but as it's written, it looks like I did that.
We'll go back and ask for clarification as we look at that.
The sheet refers to the first sentence, not the second sentence. Right.
Let's clarify that, and we will return that. But with that consideration and with the corrections Ken Kinsella made, yes?
On page 4, the third paragraph, first sentence said Alderman Hope asked if Sharon is budgeted out. I think this should be this item rather than his item. And then at the bottom of the paragraph, newsletter is one word instead of two.
Okay. With those corrections and that one act of looking into it, the motion still stands to approve with those exceptions. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Claims, payroll, and disbursements, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to pay claims, payroll, and disbursements. So move, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I asked a question earlier today of Jamie on tip 3 about almost $5,000, and she came back, it was consulting with Gene Norber on tip issue. I thought we had him on retainer.
No.
Okay, so this is just any time.
We do have to pay hourly rate when we have to consult him on keeping ourselves straight with the tips, and that's the way it's been. We've never hooked up with a specific retainer.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything else? We have a motion and a second to pay the claims and payroll disbursements. Hearing no other questions, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Richards.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
Motion carries. We have Treasurer's Report, City of Belleville Funds, and Statement of Cash and Investments for December 2013. What's your pleasure?
I move it be approved and filed.
Motion to accept and file by Alderman Considine, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussions on the Treasurer's Report? Accepting and filing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning Board of Appeals Advisory Reports.
January 1st, 2014, Joe Hunt, Miller and Mack General Contractors requesting a use variance in order to construct a 20 by 30 foot addition to the existing building at 1112 Muscoota Avenue, located in the A1 Single Family Zoning District.
Was there a recommendation? Did you say?
Not on the agenda, but
It was unanimously recommended for approval.
Unanimously recommended for approval. Do I hear a motion? This is in Muscoota Avenue, Ward 7. Okay. Is there someone willing to make a motion? Alderman Schmidt, you're willing to make a motion? Alderman, make a second. Alderman Schneider?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendations of the zoning board for case number, doesn't have a case number, but I'm sorry, case number 1, and have the proper ordinance drawn. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
case number 2, January 2nd, 2014, Lindenwood University requesting a special use permit in order to construct a dormitory and tenant improvements at 2301 West Main Street, located in the A2 two-family residential district.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a discussion? All in favor of approving this advisory report recommendation and have the proper ordinance drawn signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Case number 3, January 14, Lindenwood University requesting an area bulk variance in order to reduce the front yard setback requirement from 9 feet along West Main Street to 15 feet along North 23rd Street and North 24th Street, and to allow building height of 45 feet rather than the required 35-foot limit. The subject property is located at 2301 West Main Street in the A2 two-family zoning district.
Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear this? Yes.
I'm sorry, I was not able to attend the one on film. Are there any visuals at all tonight?
Do you have a visual of the, yeah? Want to bring it forward and show the Alderman, please?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good evening. My name is Rich Musseler. I'm an engineer on the project, and with me is Mr. Mike Ballman. He is the architect on the project. We'll give you a very brief explanation of what this project involves. First of all, we are on West Main Street between North 23rd and North 24th. We're kind of across the street from the administration building. It's a 2.64 acre tract of ground. Presently, it's all asphalt there, being used as a parking lot. As this campus has grown, the need for additional student housing has grown along with it. We have a request before the council for a special use permit in order to build a dormitory in this particular zoning district. In addition to it being an SUP, we have also tried to plan this project so that we can actually have 2 residence halls on this property. The first one to be constructed is the dark brown color on the site plan. And then we have another that we're leaving room for that is right next to.
So at the first one, that's closest to 23rd Street.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The
Everybody
first one
understand
will be the closer to 23rd.
And it's very close to Main Street, that's why you're asking for the
Right.
variance,
Yes, ma'am.
because it's closer to Main.
But the street was close, right? It was already close to Main Street.
Yeah.
Side of the front.
Yeah. What we've tried to do is, of course, we've tried to maximize our parking, but meeting all of the city's dimensional requirement for parking fields. We have gone to 3 stories, so we're building up rather than out. That triggered a height variance request. And I would also tell the council that we did receive a request from the city's engineering department that we leave room in that for a future city project, a future sanitary sewage lift station project. And we have planned around it, so to speak, to leave that room to the dimensional requirement that the city engineering staff has requested. That also pushed us just a little, so we moved forward. Mike can tell you more about the building than I. He's the architect. I'll let you speak.
Good evening. My name is Mike Ballman. I'm with LaPeake and Warren Architects, St. Charles, Missouri. We're the architects on the project. Regarding the structure itself, it's a 3-story building, as Rich mentioned before. And one thing we did is we really took into consideration the existing high school across the street. We really wanted to emulate a lot of the good design that was over there. So what you see here is a design that's very sensitive to the surrounding area and also emulates the good architecture that's already across the street. So we will be adding to that.
That's wonderful, that's beautiful.
Do you have any green space in the parking lot? Are you planning on that?
Yes, sir. If I draw your attention to this colored board, the building's in the brown, the parking lot is in the gray, and then all of the proposed green space is either in the light green or the dark green. We did calculate that, but I'll have to look at my notes. This site will have 28% green space upon its completion. And as you may have noticed at the first residence hall, the green areas are appropriately landscaped.
It's fabulous. Gabby?
This will be a male dorm,
This one will be for men, yes.
and how many units?
They're just right around 200 beds.
In each building? Or
The whole total.
This first building is going to be a little bit larger than what we are planning for the second building. I think the second one is 180. Correct. So it's not.
what kind of time span do you guys talking? You're gonna break ground in February?
Well, I think Dr. Wingo will tell you we're behind already. I think the plan is to break ground as soon as possible and to complete construction of this first residence hall in 2014.
Do you think that it will be finished before the state's forensic lab is going to be complete?
That's a distinct possibility.
Well, they've already beat the first one, but they're moving now, so we gotta be proud. They're working every day. I think they're looking, I think, still at June, I think, so. But yeah, that was a kind of a joke for a while. Any other questions? Hearing none, we do have a motion, correct, and we have a second. I appreciate the time, gentlemen. I would ask, we have, and the motion includes having the proper ordinance drawn, which will be voted on, I guess. I think it's on here later on. All in favor of approving this case number 3, and have the proper ordinance drawn for Lindenwood University's male dorm, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Case number 4, Robert Escorbante, requesting use variance in order to operate a gunsmith business with the occasional special order of firearms and appraisals at 202 North 49th Street, located in the A2 two-family zoning district.
Okay. The zoning board's recommendation?
We only had 6 of our 7 zoning board members there that night. 5 of them voted to deny, and 1 of them voted against denial. Was it 5 to 1?
That's not what this says.
It was 4 to 2.
It was 4 to 2.
Okay, I apologize. That's what I looked at, was right.
4 to 2 at denial.
I called a member of the zoning board today because I was very curious about this. And he said he walked in with one attitude and walked out with a completely different attitude. My concern is that we are denying this based strictly not on the appropriate use of the building, but because some people may be offended by the type of business. And I am concerned that we're going to get ourselves in trouble with it.
Well, I would think that the type of business would determine the use of the building, but what do you think?
Well, given that this is something that is not high traffic, that is not going to impact the neighborhood.
My understanding is an apartment building also, you understand
It's
that?
a four-family, single-story apartment.
Okay.
And,
I mean,
So if somebody wanted to sell Avon out of there, you would say no? If somebody wanted to.
If somebody wants to
Amberjack
store.
business out of there.
I don't know that Avon is deadly, but somebody wants to store weapons.
So what is
somebody
the
wants
type of business you're objecting to?
Excellent, yes, excellent, what are you looking at?
Well,
Ammunition and,
You swore an oath to defend the Constitution, which guarantees the right to bear arms. We cannot discriminate because of this.
You can't
I mean, you
discriminate.
can't say it'd be okay to sell Avon and it's not okay for a guy to run his gunsmith because it's out of the same building, based just on your personal feelings about the type of business.
I'm talking about safety. I'm honestly talking about safety. My understanding, he was not gonna have any kind of security there except some dogs. Is that right? Emma, you know?
Gentleman is here, I think it would be better.
You have it right here, sir. Yeah, sir.
My name's Robert Corpani. I got this proposal for the table. I have 2 retired neighbors on either side of me. I've got 2 dogs inside the particular apartment that we're talking about. One of the gentlemen on the zoning board mentioned a security system at the time. I did not have a plan in place to put a security system in. I spoke with my neighbor after. He offered a couple suggestions. I checked that out this weekend. I can put those on the doors if I'm required to do that.
Sir, it's my
Okay.
understanding you're a retired military officer, is that correct?
I am a retired colonel, ma'am. I've got a top secret.
I would have guessed that.
I've got a top secret clearance at Scott Air
Training
Force
and discipline has
Base.
been part of your life.
Yes, ma'am. I've commanded 2 engineer platoons, 2 infantry companies, a military police battalion, and 206 commands. And all of those commands, I've been the safety officer of that unit.
I would love you to move to my neighborhood.
Okay, okay. I think the question in continuous zoning cases where we're in neighborhoods is about traffic, parking, and there will be some business potentially at your, people could come to your apartment, correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
And I think the questions raised and the few comments, I haven't received a lot, the few comments that I got are about the fact that this council has been, I think, pretty consistent about making sure that's what is single family or residential is not disturbed by business. In some cases, there's been some going on for years, way before any of us were on this council, but I think that if we agree that, and we have sat here and turned some people down because of business activity in a residential neighborhood, I think we got to hold to those particular things and not get caught up with the particulars. This is unique, and I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying, Alderman Holt, but I think the question is, we gotta ask ourselves, when it comes to parking, does it disturb the other people nearby potentially? And is it appropriate to run a business out of this residential area? And I
Well,
think
I
that's,
see supporters and no objectors. I assume the standard signs went up, your
Yes,
neighbors were
ma'am.
notified by certified letter, and nobody showed up to object.
And the counter argument, I addressed that about parking, 150 feet away from my residence is a gravel area. The traffic engineering handbook has got an average distance of 1,500 feet. That distance to that gravel area is 150 feet. More than adequate parking down there, if any parking was required.
Alderman Schneider?
So, what the information you have, there was no residents objecting to this.
Nobody showed up.
Pardon?
You can't hear you if you use your microphone.
So, Alderman Holt, what you're stating is the information you have. I did not attend the meeting either. There are no residents objecting to this,
That's what the meeting minutes say.
and if he pays his rent, you won't be taking parking away from other people.
Colonel, how often per week do you anticipate having a customer in your home?
I anticipate most of my work being the appraisal type, to where I would go to a house and I would appraise the collection
Your
there.
neighbor sees you get in the car, drive away, and have no idea whether you're on business or personal.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Our problem with Mr. Carpenter's business is simple. First of all, he's going to be dealing with firearms. Secondly, people are going to be people. Here's a firearms company in a four-family apartment building. Now, we're very business friendly in Ward 4. I've asked several police officers, what did they think of the idea? They didn't like it. We're concerned that once the word gets out, that there's gonna be possibly break-ins, possibly other people wanting to put firearms in apartment buildings. We've got to.
That's illegal.
I don't,
I know
well,
what
and we,
Michael wants to do.
and beg your pardon, we do this on a case-by-case basis with the type of multifamily building that is. It's a side-by-side, single-story, door, wall-to-wall, which he's in the center. We just don't think it's a good fit for that building, for that particular building. And I know the neighbors, I was there, I was at the zoning board hearing, and we don't think it's a good fit. Now, council can go the way they want to. The buck stops basically with us and we're speaking for the rest of the ward.
Ma'am, would you wait to be recognized again? You're not running this meeting. Alderman Davidson.
The other issue I always have with something like this, Johnny, was telling it very nicely, but the people that live on the house, on both sides of you, agree to this. But what happens when they leave and a family comes in, or a family with children? Is it going to hurt the property? Is it going to hurt other people's property values around it? Other people want to walk by a gun store? This is a neighborhood. This isn't something that...
Sir, I'm not planning on having a gun store there. I'm trying to do appraisals in someone else's house. If they require my gunsmithing services as a result of that collection, and they would like me to broker that deal to an auction house, I will do that.
Do you live there, sir?
Yes, I do. I've lived there for 6.5 years.
Alderman Hayden.
So let me get this right, so so it's not like you're gonna be holding guns there for display sale. You're basically, if somebody wants a gun, you would be a broker to get.
That is correct, sir. That would be a special, the business that I propose, there are three legs to it. One is the appraisal part, where I'd be going to someone else's house and appraising it, possibly brokering that to an auction house. Looking at that appraisal collection to do repair work on that particular collection, and then the third part of it, the special order of a firearm, not any type of retail sales of firearms. And I will add this, if I might, the brokering of these items is covered under section 67-5 of the zoning the zoning board as an approved home occupation. I don't have anything in there there's nothing in there about gunsmithing, but brokering is covered under there. That would be the appraisals and brokering it to an auction house, and also the special order.
So again, to make it clear, because the concerns that I was hearing from the Alderman from Ward 4 was concern of guns being there that could be broken into or stolen, but you're not gonna have any guns there for sale unless you're brokering.
It would be a special order.
It would be a special order, and I would presume that your services are gonna be in more demand now that the state of Illinois finally became the last state to allow carrying of open guns.
That's possible.
Alderman Schneider is next.
If the guns would be there, how long would they be there? Maybe a day or two till you transferred it to the owner? It's not like you're gonna be having a display. This is what I'm asking questions.
The special order, ma'am, it would, by law, it would have to be at least 1 day for a long gun and 3 days for a handgun. It would have to be secured in a gun safe. That was my answer that I had.
And that ain't gonna be any more than what, correct me if I'm wrong, than some of these people that have guns in their homes. I mean, some of them have 6, 7, 8, 9 guns in all different kinds in their homes. I mean, but it's not like.
Let's don't misunderstand. No one here's questioning the right to bear arms. But the question is here, is it appropriate to grant a variance for a business at this location that is a 4-unit apartment in basically a residential area? That's the question. It's not, we don't disagree. People have a right to bear arms. People have a right to own firearms. That's all a given. Alderman Schneider, Schmidt.
Once this is granted, can he have a gun? I mean, once we say, if we would say, okay, tonight, what would be, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Would he be able to run a store, and he could do more without coming back to us, right? I mean, we wouldn't have any control over what happens after tonight.
The variance would be given to him in his name only at this location, right?
Right, and it would be given for the request that he wrote in his application, which is to operate a gunsmith business with the occasional special order firearm sale. So I think it gets into a retail.
Yes, and there's the appraisals in there.
And appraisal, yeah. So,
But the,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, but the appraisal is the main part of the business, right?
It's really 3 parts, ma'am, but I'm going after the appraisal business.
That's what I just said.
Right.
Your most part of the business is gonna be, you're gonna be going out and appraising.
But if you order a gun for me, if I'm a customer, it is possible I would come to your location to pick it up.
That's correct, Mayor.
And that's the part here, I think that's the part of the business that you gotta ask yourself, is that appropriate for that location? I mean, I'd love to have this business, my only question is it appropriate in that particular area? Alderman Schmidt?
What was the third, so the 3 parts of your business are appraisal, brokering, sales, and what's the third part?
3 parts, appraisal and brokering the sale of the collection, gunsmithing, and then the special order of a firearm.
And Mayor, if I can, sir, gunsmithing is, you know, as Colonel would tell you that it's a, he would be repairing guns. Simple, you know, he would be repairing guns. That's what gunsmithing is. So, people would be bringing their guns to him. He would repair them and get them back to them. And he would have people, I mean, he would have to advertise some kind of way to let people know, number one, that he's there. Internet, something, and you know, we talking about a business where if they call him, of course, if they get on the internet, it would be a business. It would be a walk-in business. It's not all done out on the street. And like I said, all due respect to the Colonel and his wanting to start a small business. It's just exactly where it's at, and the type of building that it's in, we just don't feel that it's appropriate now. And
Yep.
When you have done with your planes, would there be a place where you can secure them in a fashion that no one else could really get out?
The plan is to secure them in a gun safe. And to address the other question there, majority of business, like I said, I'm going after the appraisal end of it, and that would be the part of the gunsmithing that I'd be trying to tap into, not necessarily to try to repair everything out there.
Yes, sir, Ken?
Your Honor, if you drive past this, which I did today, it is in a brick-fronted building, it's, I guess, all brick, and low roof, it's a single story. There's 4 units right next to each other, so they're more or less shotgun from looking at it from the front. There doesn't seem to be parking in the front. There is another set building the same size, so there are 8 apartments there. It is an apartment setting. If it had been a house setting separate, but I don't think I would want even a barber or a beauty shop to open up, especially since it's not on the end of the building. It's in the middle. So it's not what he's putting there, it's the fact that it's a business as far as.
And that's my question to the council. It's not so much what, it's just the fact, I think the question is this appropriate? And as we have made decisions before on businesses in a residential setting, is this an appropriate use? That's the question I think we have to ask each other. I mean, I'd love to have him this business, and I understand his business model probably is, it's certainly cheaper to have that as residence, but I would certainly, I can think of a few places where it probably wouldn't be an issue. Alderman Hayden?
So I want to make it clear, though, that both Alderman in Ward 4 are against this, is that correct? I mean, personally, I don't have that much of an issue with it. As a norm, I support the Alderman because I want to say more than Mr. Silsby would, but it was an output. Thank you.
So we have not had a motion yet. Do I hear a motion either for or against this to put, yeah?
Make a motion that we deny this request.
Make a motion to deny by Alderman Davidson. There's a second by Alderman Anthony. Any further questions? I should have had the motion on the floor first. I didn't realize we didn't have it. We have a motion and we have a second. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote because it's quite a bit of discussion.
I will explain my A and A on this references.
Okay. Okay. I is okay. I'm sorry. An aye is to deny. The motion was to deny. So an aye vote is to deny the motion that Alderman Davidson and Anthony are bringing forward. A nay vote would be that you are in favor of the gentleman's request. So, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Nay.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Richwitz.
Aye.
Randall. Or Anthony, excuse me.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert. White.
Nay.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Hey.
Ayes have it, okay? There's another location, I'd love to talk to you, but I think the concern is the residential right there.
Thanks for hearing my proposal, Mayor.
And thank you for coming tonight and being so explicit, that's good. Okay, at this time, we move on. I ask for a motion to accept and file the report in your packet from the Kerner House and 127 Muscuda Avenue Restoration Committee for 2013. We have motion by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Hayden. This is part of their requirement. They are city properties we own, and with their 501c3, they need to report once a year. So I suggest you read them and we'll file them. Yes?
And so, my question is about budgeting. Do you have anything pending?
At this moment, I don't believe so.
Are they making a request for the next?
Well, they have requested that we consider a TIF over there. They requested some help, but, you know, we haven't got to the TIF budgets yet to even hear that, you know.
So all we're currently doing now is accepting their report?
All we're doing is part of the report from last year.
Okay.
So we have a motion accepted to accept and file. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. City Attorney's report dated January 30th, 2014 is in your packet. Do I hear a motion to accept and file by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Schmidt. Discussions on that?
It says that 431 ordinance violation cases pending. I have no idea what to know.
Well, there's been a fluctuation from quarter to quarter of over 100. And I know it was in the 400s 2 reports ago, and it dipped down right below 300 last quarter, back up to 400. So I would say 400, at least since I've been here, the short time is the norm.
Okay, and we've talked about, under the demolition foreclosure, that some of those are in all various stages of.
That's correct, but you will note that there's one less on there from last report. So Brian Flynn, the Assistant City Attorney, is moving these cases along.
And number 7, 8, and 8 have been brought to bid.
Right. Right. They will be coming up to 3. There was 3. I don't know if the third one actually. Yeah, I don't know if it was actually on the combination. We just had one that I'm not sure it came along. I don't know. Were they all 3 in the combination? The 3 that are coming under demolition.
We got 3 of them, yeah, Devonshire.
And they were all on the condemnation list, so they should have been actually. That's 3 more coming off the. Yeah. Okay.
Number 4, you know, the historic society has, but I assume that you're still trying to go after the former owner. Is that?
Yeah, that's my understanding based on my last communication with Mr. Flynn. I'll follow up with him.
And I actually have some more questions. Are we going into executive session tonight to discuss, when we ask current litigation questions in that?
That would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion, we have a second to accept this city attorney's report and file. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oral reports. Let's see who's first up. Alderman Heisler.
Yes, Your Honor. On behalf of the Master Sewer Committee, I'd like to make a motion to approve the long-term control plan construction pay request number 43 from Cordy, Lujan, and Tubino, Wade, and Mercer for a total amount of $116,668.25. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Hayden. Do I hear any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Go ahead, Mike. Oh, and I'm sorry. I'd ask for a motion to approve the purchase of a budgeted special dirt buggy to replace the existing circa 1960s dirt buggy in the amount of $64,480. This is for Walnut Hill Cemetery. We've got a piece of equipment out there that's on its last leg. Motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Rudowitz. Do I hear a discussion? Alderman Hayden.
How many bids?
I don't think we could. It's a special, there's actually nobody else that does it. There's only one.
It's the only company that makes them.
And I actually did Google that today.
I went online and I searched.
No, they checked it right away, because we talked about it, but when Chuck and Mike and them came back to me, there was, it's a specialty item for cemeteries, this type of vehicle that works with them when they're digging graves, and they can have a small dump and all that.
They don't actually make them until you order it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 500, wait.
This is the only type of vehicle that would work for this type of operation?
Well, it's the size of it, the way it gets through the grave, without, you get too big of a truck, you're riding over other graves. Mike,
It is a 3-yard, it's basically what we have out there now, all in the 80s, to replace what we had at the 1963. And I think the safety is when we have out there now.
yeah, the one they have it, they're not shot.
We can't do that.
And this is the same type of vehicle that you're seeing in other cemeteries. They have different, over the years, different ages of them. But it's, you know, the width of between the headstones and those different lanes out there in the area are very, you know, you can't put a big,
How much was budgeted?
How much is budgeted?
70,000.
70,000 is budgeted. Alderman Casella.
I believe the specs said too that these have special balloon tires so that they don't leave indentations on the graves.
Right. This is, it's considered of this being in the cemetery terrain and being friendly to the environment there. Okay? And it fits the environment. I guess that's the better way to say it. So we do have a motion, we have a second, correct? Okay. With that, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewoods.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orwick. Schneider.
Motion carries. Communications, is there some of these you want to split out, or can he read a number of them together, or what's your pleasure? So we got a lot of communications, so we can move on.
I'd like to see all of them read together if possible.
Is anybody objecting to that?
Make a motion to read them all together if there's no objection.
Well, if nobody's objecting to pull something out, we don't need a motion, we can just have him read them. Okay? Go ahead and proceed.
A request from 9-inch Shriners to hold their circus parade on Friday, May 30th, 2014, commencing at 7:30 p.m. and assistance from the Belleville Police Department. Also permission to locate the reviewing stand on the southeast quadrant of the public square and to be provided with barricades to be placed around the reviewing stand. B, request from the September 11th Memorial Walkway of Southern Illinois Committee to hold a groundbreaking ceremony on Tuesday, March 11, 2014 at the memorial site at 1125 South Illinois Street. The committee reports that the plans to begin the construction of the memorial may begin as early as this week, February 4th through February 8th, weather permitting. The first stage will involve clearing of trees and leveling of ground. The plans to build the memorial were previously approved at the February 6th, 2012 City Council meeting. C, request from the September 11th Memorial Walkway of Southern Illinois Committee to hold a dedication ceremony 6 months after groundbreaking on Thursday, September 11th, 2014 at the memorial site at 1125 South Illinois Street. D, request from Belleville Main Street to hold their second annual Broom Cube Challenge on Saturday, June 7th, 2014 from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're requesting the closure of 2 blocks on East Main Street with barricades at Jackson Street, Church Street, and Charles Street. Setup will begin at 9 a.m. and the teardown will be between 8 and 9 p.m. The request from the Belleville 200 Committee, Big Daddy 618, and Belleville Main Street to close the 300 block of East Main Church to Charles immediately after the parade on March 15, 2014 for their St. Patrick's Day Festival from 1 to 8 p.m. They are also requesting for North Church to be closed from East Main to the alley, 20 trash toters from the sanitation department, and 12 picnic tables from the Parks Department. The streets will reopen at 9 p.m. that night. F, request from Eckerd Floors Incorporated to place some refrigerated coolers in one of their designated loading zones located in the first block of North 2nd Street from Saturday, February 8, 2014 to Saturday, February 15, 2014 to accommodate the influx of merchandise and arrangements for the Valentine's Day season. They will coordinate with the street department for cones and lighted barricades.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Hayden. Discussion? All in favor? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I have a couple of questions. One about the September 11th memorial, and does that mean they have reached their fundraising goals?
They've reached the point that they feel comfortable in moving forward, and they have the bank they work with, et cetera. So they're ready to go. Sharon?
We're happy to report that
On January 22nd, Kate Roeder from Hanks Excavating and Landscaping Incorporated here in Belleville joined our committee. And he is going to be leading up our team for design and construction, starting with the first phase. So that's a major piece to our puzzle that's come together, and we're very excited about it. In speaking with him, he feels it's very doable to have the groundbreaking in March and have our dedication in September. Very exciting news for us.
Alderman Schneider.
So what happens if you don't have enough money to finish this? Are you just gonna have to come to the city to ask for money?
We have no intentions of asking the city for money. We will continue to raise the necessary funds through fundraising and private donations and corporate funds.
But what if you don't have enough money? Where will it come from?
No, we're not entertaining that motion. We will work until we get the money to build the memorial. That's been our commitment since the beginning.
I understand, I appreciate the concern, but there is nothing that they have not brought anything to my office or to Jamie for any requests for money this year. They're working hard to do something that this council unanimously embraced. What was that?
February 6, 2012.
2012. And it is a fabulous opportunity to create such a memorial out of respect and out of love for people who've given their lives, and I think a tribute to all the people who serve in these first responder capacities. So I would just ask that we keep this very positive and trust this committee is very, very well diverse committee with a lot of caring employees from our community and a lot of city employees who are giving a lot of time to make this happen. I'm proud of them. I think we need to be extremely supportive and proud, and hopefully by this indication of kicking this off, a few more people will donate to help us finish this this great desire to put this tribute, this memorial together. So we have a motion and we have a second to approve. Yes, ma'am.
I have a second question about the cooler floors. So you've been here for a while. What is there about this holiday that makes you think you need that extra storage?
There are a few holidays, and occasionally you run into that, and the request is that we believe we're going to need the space for this holiday. That's a good thing. Business has been picking up.
It is good.
So
I'm just asking you, is this something you see a one-time thing?
I don't know that. I don't think that we can predict that. I think it could be at another holiday again. It could be Mother's Day again. It's possible. The business has started to finally recuperate from the recession.
This is actually, I just answered my question.
Yeah.
Where we used to be at 1401 West Main Street, we owned property. Where I am now, we own nothing but the building. So since there's a loading zone there, I'm the one that's gonna be losing a little bit because we aren't gonna be able to load there, because I'll have a trailer in place of that. But I just don't have any property to put it on.
We've had cooler trucks for the holidays before, is her statement. This is not new to us, but when
I
they...
just never had to have a variance before because we never, it was on the property that the building was on.
Okay, all right. That's what I was not understanding. Was it behind when you were?
It was like in 1401, it was in the back, in the park.
Okay, so it was never seen by the
The
public.
owner of the property owned the lot back there, and he had no problem with us bringing the cooler truck to the back door. We didn't do it last year, the first year we were there, but we were still coming out of the recession too. But the business has picked up, and she feels she's going to need it this year. It's a good thing. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve all the communications as read. All in favor of these communications signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Petitions, we have none. Resolutions, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only. Resolution 3164. Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussions about reading this one by title only? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You want to read it by title only? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's one. The resolution or...
Just a resolution.
Resolution number 3164, a resolution requesting permission from IDOT to close Route 159 for the St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 15, 2014 from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m.
Move we approve this?
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussion on resolution 3164? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Order.
Aye.
Schneider.
Motion carries. At this time, I ask for a motion to read by title only, ordinances 7745, 7746, and 7747. Motion by Alderman Sillsby, second by Alderman Seibert. All in favor of reading these three ordinances by title only signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
A, ordinance number 7745 is zoning ordinance in regard to case 1, January 14, Joe Hutton, Miller, and Mack General Contractors.
Motion to approve ordinance number 7745.
Motion by Alderman Sillsby, second by Alderman Seibert. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Order. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Can we read the next two together? Does anybody have problems? Okay, ask for a motion. So go ahead. You got it.
Ordinance number 7746 is zoning ordinance in regard to case 2, January 14, Lindenwood University. C, ordinance number 7747 is zoning ordinance in regard to case 3, January 14, Lindenwood University.
Motion to approve ordinance 7746 and 7747.
Motion by Alderman Sillsby, second by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Unfinished business. We have a motion to approve resolving that the City of Belleville Health and Housing Department request permission from the Illinois Office of Secretary of State Local Records Commission for record disposal. I think what we came to, Garrett, we had agreed to certain ones that everybody felt comfortable with. And we're going to look into.
Yes, in the interest of satisfying the concerns that were raised at the last meeting, I had recommended to the mayor that we remove the licenses and the permits from this authorization, and we would examine coincidentally what was mentioned earlier, and that was the costs associated with scanning and storing the documents digitally. So that's something that's being examined right now, and if it's cost feasible, it may be a way to maintain records, other types of records in the future.
So the motion here tonight then is to go ahead and approve. Bob, this would be for just regarding the ones that everybody agreed to. There was some, refresh me again real quickly.
Second vacation time request forms, administrative file correspondence, and then cash receipts, reports, and copies.
And no one had any heartburn over that. So that's what we'll be making a motion on. The other items that were questioned, we will continue to look about scanning them. It's very expensive for our staff to do it, but there are some services out there. And we'll come back with that. In the meantime, they're not going anywhere.
I'll make a motion to approve as recommended by the city attorney.
We have a motion by Alderman Hayden. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Seibert. Alderman Davidson, you're just going to make a motion.
No, I was actually going to make a comment on the public participation. The idea that, if I may, the idea that these boxes, whatever size they are, can be stacked in a 5 by 5 by 7 or whatever, makes them utterly useless. These boxes have to be available. They're not for storage just so we can look, have them around forever. They have to be up against a wall. They're labeled. They have to be accessible. They're not. The storage is not underneath the bed, and we'll pull them out when we need them. They have to be accessible. It's the same with the electronic storage. I would think that we should try to go to electronic storage. But just from my experience with the state, scanning is pretty expensive. It's time consuming, and then again, accessible. You have to scan it in such a way that you can retrieve it, and that is, that's difficult. You put 1,000 records in under 2011, and then you have to look to 1,000 records to get to it. These aren't easy solutions. But if the state is telling us that we're allowed to get rid of them, if it's cost prohibitive to keep them.
We'll bring that back again in the future once we research it some more, okay?
That's a question. As these new licenses and permits are coming in, are, this is when we should be setting up a system?
They are being scanned on now, right, buddy?
No.
So that's what I'm getting at. So we don't run this, we need, I think we need to work towards.
Well, we'll have to talk about that. I mean, I think it's, I gotta sit down and talk with my director about, feasibility, but I think it's something we should look at, but once again, it's a manpower thing, but we'll talk about it. We'll look into it. I honestly thought we were starting to get to that, but I know from the ones in the past, I know we haven't. So we have a motion and a second to approve, the disposing of those that were clarified here, other than those that were asked to be held, and so we got that, I think it's spelled out in the request. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert. White.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Garrett, does the new resolution reflect that we made those changes, or we gotta come back with that?
Well, it's, the changes need only be made on the exhibit, they can be done by deletion. The resolution itself won't have to change, but it attaches the application that lists the items, so
Does everybody
all we
understand
can do is, all we have to do is delete those pertinent sections of the exhibit.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and ask for a motion at this time to approve resolution, or read by title only, resolution 3162. Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear any discussion? All in favor of reading resolution 3162, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 3162, a resolution authorizing disposal of records with approval of local records commission.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve, resolution
Second.
3162 with the modifications as, interjected by the city attorney.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear any further discussion?
Just to clarify, since there is an attachment to that, and it says application item number, can we be specific about those? We're talking about 7, 2, and 34, is that correct?
As to what is going to be destroyed,
Yes.
correct?
7, 2, and 34 are the only things we are agreeing to at this point.
That's correct, the balance of those are permits and licenses.
Right. Thank you.
We have a motion, we have a second. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewood.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any miscellaneous or new business? Yes, ma'am.
Can you give us an update on your charter area?
Yes, I just talked to Bob White a few minutes ago, earlier. I told you last meeting, they thought it'd be a couple more weeks. I found out from Rich Peppers today that the part is in, whatever part it was that they were missing. He felt, and I talked to Neil Gibb, what day was he up, Sharon, last Thursday or Wednesday? He actually came to our office. Did you see him?
I didn't see him.
Yeah, he was there. He came to see us. He came to see Rich and I. And he said then, at that point, he said, look, if we're waiting for the part, I don't think the worst case scenario will be anywhere than 3 to 4 weeks. It'll be totally done. Rich told me this morning the part came in, and that he's working with Charter, and he's hoping in a matter of a week or two, we're up and running. So I won't sit here and promise, but it could be by the next council meeting, we're up and running. Rich is very anxious, and he said he thinks it's gonna go very fast now that they've got this relay, or whatever they needed, something that they needed to get from the fiber optics here out to Linden Woods, and all the stuff that they do. So it's out of our control, but it's getting real close.
Right. Okay, the TIF 10 missing papers.
Jamie, she's asking about the TIF 10 missing papers, which is a request by a FOIA that you talked to. You want to explain again, no, TIF 10 is,
Yeah, they're developer notes that we have pledged revenue against. I think he's referring that one of the schedules that was attached to one of the physical notes was missing. I don't have it, I've given him everything I have, I've contacted the developer. He can't seem to find it either, and it's their note, I don't know.
and he was checking with the bank that was holding the thing. So that's the last we know. I mean, they're their notes. We are not obligated for these notes. It passes through us only in the form of the audit. Right, Jamie?
Yeah, all we've done is pledge revenue against it. If the revenue isn't there, they're not our responsibility to pay.
Art on the Square, you were
try, and Patty's back, and we're gonna try to get her, she's trying to see if she can come to the finance meeting this month. She's gonna let me know tomorrow, because they like to make a presentation to the committee about what RM Square all does before we enter into any more dialogue about changing anything.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned finance. I was frustrated at the last finance committee meeting that there was no place for old new business or for any suggestions to be made as far as budgeting goes.
It's not true. Jamie?
Suggestions for budgeting, nobody asked that go on the agenda.
No, but you even mentioned about the budgeting again, to contact you, and, I mean, it was discussed. I mean, if anybody we were working on the draft, if people had questions or suggestions, to give them to Jamie.
Okay, parking study, we're on with that.
The parking study.
Downtown. Correct.
I don't know what you mean, the parking study. You mean with Concrete?
Well, we had hired somebody who was supposed to tell us, this would be the best place if you're gonna put it in the garage.
We had that. That's been all done. I mean, am I right, Alderman Hayden? I mean, we had the huh? Probably almost a year ago, we had it, it's there, but I think at the time, to do a garage is about minimum $3 million, Jamie and Tim are up. So at this point in time, it was not a priority, so it's there. I mean, you got a copy of it.
Okay, and have we gotten back, we hired somebody to tell us what the best use of this building or the police department or moving, who should move, where they should move?
Well, were you at the last council meeting?
I'm trying to be careful, not to step
You
on
were,
anything
were you in executive session?
I was in executive
And we're going to
session.
go in executive session again tonight, so I think we can probably answer some of your questions.
Okay, so that's why I was asking about this study,
Okay.
and I'll yield the floor.
Okay. This time I'd ask for a motion to pay the motor fuel claims in the amount of $26,824.65. Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Hayden. Do I have any discussion about motor fuel? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Richards.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motor fuel claims approved. This time I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of personnel litigation and property acquisition. Alderman Schmidt and Alderman Schneider second.
Short break.
We will take a 5-minute break, and then there's a possibility we'll come back with some motions after this. All in favor of going executive sessions for stated reasons signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
How you doing? Doing good, sir.
Okay. Anybody else out there? Okay. Hold on. You have questions? Okay, we're ready to go. At this time, we're back in open session, and as stated on the agenda, there was the possibility of a motion and our resolution about property acquisition. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to approve Resolution 3165 and read by title only.
Are we going to approve it or just read by title only is my motion?
The read by title only first, and then we'll make a motion to approve.
Resolution 3165 by title only.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Schmidt. Read by title only.
Yes, resolution number 3165, a resolution authorizing the purchase of real estate.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a long night. You've taxed me a lot, okay? I have a motion and a second to read resolution 3165 by title only. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 3165, a resolution authorizing the purchase of real estate.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution 3165.
I second.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Schmidt. Resolution 3165 will give the mayor, the clerk, after the city attorney finishes the final sale agreement, the authority to purchase the property in question is 720 West Main Street. It is a building here that is currently known where the Bank of Belleville resides. This would be to house the future police department of the city of Belleville. And there's a lot of other parts to this that are still to be worked out and a lot more of the plan, but this would give us the first step to be able to proceed to find our police department a much needed new facility. This one here has been since 1957, and we've greatly we've expanded way beyond its means. So we have a motion and we have a second to approve the motion, the resolution, which will give us the authority to purchase that property, and understand the plan is, so there's no secret, that we will be coming back with a motion with financial details, but we will pay for a short-term loan, possibly up to no more than 3 years. We're seeking the information right now as we speak, and that will be paid with funds and monies from TIF 3 to purchase this first piece of the puzzle as we move forward with this project. We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Alderman Schneider.
Yes, as I stated, I don't see how we can approve buying this when we spent over $90,000 for a study, and we're purchasing this property without even having the study in our hands. So I'm going to be voting no.
I understand, Alderman Schneider, and you're right. I just want to remind you so that everybody else here knows, the architect was here at the last council meeting and gave his statement in executive session that it was his opinion, and you were here, that this site was the best site that of all ones they've examined that were given to them as a suggestion, all the other ones they looked at, that to find a building without building everything from new, and we've gone over all that, the reasons, that this building would best serve, they believe, in his opinion, their opinion, the future needs of the police department, and that they can develop a plan that makes this into a very functional police department at that location. Alderman Schmidt?
I would like to add also, for the record, that I think this is not only a wonderful thing for the police department, which is in hellacious quarters now, but it will also be a big step toward revitalizing 6th through 17th Street in Ward 2 and Ward 5, and I think that's a great thing to consider too.
I think it could be it's no doubt it's going to be a great anchor at that location. We have a motion and we have a second. Hearing no other questions, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
No.
The ayes have it. We're gonna move forward. We got a lot of work to do. This is far from any conclusion on how we're going to get there, but it's the first step, and it's a very important first step to finding a new home for our police department. Motion by Alderman Hayden. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear any discussion? All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Make sure you guys